Hi, and welcome to another episode of Ox Valley Home Projects. One day, back in 1983, a friend visited. He told me that he had played a new Game & Watch game. He wondered if I could make a new version of that game so we could play it. He drew a picture of the game. Here is the exact picture he drew. He explained that the game was about a chef juggling food. Sometimes a mean cat could snatch a food and hold it for a while before he let it go. And if you missed the food, a rat ran out with a long pole to catch it. We started to draw a second image on how to make this game, my VIC-20. I also made a third picture. And then I made the game. It looks like this. It took me at least 30 years after this to see a picture of the real game. And nowadays it's easy to find the game being played on YouTube. Here is what it really looks like. So, now the turn has come to make a new version of this game. Join me in making it, and I will explain all the small details we need to implement to make it look and function as the real game. This version will be for the Commodore 64 computer. Let's begin. I started with finding a nice YouTube clip with someone playing the real game. I watched it and planned how to do this. Step 1 was to get the still image of the part where the game just starts. For only a split second, all parts of the screen is lit up. That image will be the perfect background for my own graphical tool. When I got that, I started making images out of the cat and the 4 pictures of the chef with modified characters. You put out characters and modify how a character looks to get an image. Because this is the most common way to make graphics on the Commodore 64. But you only have 256 characters. I can edit any dot in any graphics I create. I made 2 of the rats with characters and the balcony where the cat is sitting. After that, I had already used too many characters, 260. So I had to start a part of my tool where I can compare all the newly generated characters with each other. Starting with the ones that is only differs in 1 dot. I could change one of them to make them equal. And then some more. And a few that differs in 2 dots. Until I only had 250 different characters. Now I'm back on track. My tool makes it easy for me to do the game in C using the compiler CC65. Now I had only sprites left to work with, 32 of them. I made one for each food in the air. That is 20. I made 2 sprites together to make the arm with the frying pan, and 2 more for his motion when he swings the pan. I need another rat, so I had to improvise and made one out of 4 sprites. Then it's time to write the game. I started with positioning the 4 chefs. I added code to move him back and forth. After that, I made a routine to let the pancakes bounce up and down in the air. And next, the frying pan and the arm following the chef when he moves. The images is showing badly on the recording, which is not the case when you play the game. Each food has 5 different levels. I closely watched the YouTube clip again. When the chef moves, the pan is always in the lower position. When a food is in its second position, counted from the bottom, the chef swings his arm to follow it. So I had to make routines to move and change the look of the arm, both when the chef is moving and when the food where he stands now is in the second position. Every food can go 3, 4 or 5 steps up in the air before it turns down again. I had to think about where to randomly decide how high each food will go up in the air. I think I will select that value when it turns back in the bottom. With 3 pancakes, there will always be a free spot where it can land, since I have 3 different options to choose from. With 4 pancakes, I will be forced to choose to land exactly at the same time as another pancake. But I will have to select the one just to the left or to the right of that pancake, so the chef has time to catch both. One thing I had to change. The pan is following the pancake up after it has been captured, but the motion waits until it's turn for the pancake to go up to the next step. That cannot happen. The chef can't move that slow, since I sometimes will have to catch 2 pancakes at the same time. The upswing must go faster than it does now. And if you look carefully on the original game, you can see that this does the same. This is how it looks when I sped up the arm motion. Second position. Here I've added some more backgrounds and numbers so the counter can count how many points I have. I borrowed the numbers from the game Turtle Bridge I made a few years ago. I also imported better looking numbers. This is the numbers before, and this is now. When a game starts, 3 or 4 chefs appears, starting with 1 food each. When the food goes to the second position, some of the chefs disappear and only chef number 2 is still visible, and that's the chef you can control. This is the starting version I made. Here I got into trouble. Showing 4 foods at the same time takes 4 sprites. And since each arm with a pan is 2 sprites, the chefs would need another 8 sprites. But that's 12 sprites. But I can only show 8 sprites at a time. So I had to come up with a solution. I made 8 new sprites that I doubled the width of. In that way, 1 sprite was enough for each arm and pan. I had to sacrifice half the resolution from left to right. Here I'm putting the sprites together in paint, so I can draw the new sprites. They are still the same number of dots from top to bottom, but half as many from left to right. Here I put out one arm in double width and one in single width. When they are both in double width, they will look like this. I will only use these arms when starting a game. Then I go back to my less pixely versions. The cat. In the original game, it is flipping back and forth about once every second. And he puts on the fork randomly, no matter if there's a pancake or not. Sometimes he put the fork there first, and the pancake kind of falls into it. Here is really some things I want to change. I don't flip the cat as often as that. And he only puts out the fork when there is a pancake to reach. One special thing I kept from the original. No matter if the pancake is moving up or down, when the cat releases it, it falls down, because that is the natural way to move. How fast should the food move? I looked at the clip of the original game and counted. When each food makes 60 moves in the beginning of the game, it took 47 seconds. The score meanwhile went from 0 to 39. But it will go faster when it comes close to 100, so I count again. Then it made 52 moves, and it took 31 seconds when the score was racing from 69 to 97 points. Let's assume the increase of the speed is linear, meaning for every point it increases the speed just as much. So then let's calculate the average speed and put that on the middle point. So then I calculated that at 19.5 points, the speed for every move would be 0.78 seconds. And then at 82.5 points, it would make every move at 0.6 seconds. From that I can calculate the formula for speed depending on points. I started calculating this by hand, but when I was done I realized I wanted the time in ticks, not seconds. On the C64 it makes 60 ticks each second. To not having to calculate it all again on the paper, I cheated and let internet solve it for me. And the answer would be take the points times minus 0.18 plus 50.45 to get the speed at that point. I added those values in my program. Then I had to do some trickery. There is no floating numbers in C for the Commodore 64. So I had to multiply both numbers by 100 and then at the end divide the sum with 100. Then I set the chef to move 2.5 times faster than that speed. Each time the chef catches a food, he will get 1 point. Here we can see how the speed increases, and when we reach 100 it slows down again. Debugging is kind of hard on a C64. I tried a few different ways to solve this. The most common way is to print characters and values and all you want to show out on the screen somewhere. But the problem is that it's often overwritten by next character in a very fast pace. Also, if you write debug text on the screen, Remember that all your characters are changed into graphics, so you may have to switch back to the original characters to read it. So, to be able to read those values, I can slow down the game to go very slow so I have time to read the characters. Or I can put in pause that holds the game until I press a button. One other trick is to film the game going on, and then I can look at it frame by frame in open shot. But my final solution I wanted to do for a long time. I used one line on the screen, the top line or the bottom line, and I wrote all the debug information there. Then I opened an emulator called Jack64. It emulates Commodore 64, but it works in Java. So I changed the Java code, telling it whenever it had some debugging line, write that down in a text file. So that way I could get long log files of everything that's happening. And that was really useful when the food kept coming down too at the same time. And I had to debug that for several days. I recorded the sound when you miss a food and wrote down the length and hertz for all the tones. Then I made my own sounds. This is the original version. And this is my version. When you miss a food, there is a rat running out to catch it. I can show how it looks in the original game. Did you see a thing here? In every move the rat does, he has a different food on his fork. Look again. That is, of course, how the game is created. They cannot change the food depending on where it is landing. But I can do that in my game. And also, each rat holds the food on the stick and never runs without the food. So, how will the original game do if it has to run and catch a food that is landing in a fourth and last position? Here is how it looks. It just takes a big leap out to that position. I don't have to do it like that in my version. I can let him run without anything on his fork, and I can make him hold the correct kind of food. Lovely. I have added instructions and added space to pause the game and S to toggle the sound on and off. And of course I can also select A or B mode, 3 or 4 chefs. Now I made 4 new versions of Game & Watch games. It's very tempting to show them all at once. So let's look at them for a while. All the games can be downloaded from the description of this film. Now I really have to end this clip. Take care now and see you all soon. Bye bye.